Good evening, I'm Joel Flynn in Hong Kong. Welcome to ViuTV News. Coming up on tonight's show. The government says there's no reason why a public consultation should be launched for the controversial high-speed rail plans. Chief Executive Carrie Lam does the rounds in Singapore on day 2 of her visit to the city-state. The Hong Kong leader saying her colleagues need to think in a more innovative way. And the deadline ends for residents to vacate their homes for the Wang Chau development project, but they aren't budging. Good evening. We begin with Chief Executive Carrie Lam in Singapore as she's on her first overseas visit since taking office last month. She's meeting Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong before heading to Thailand tonight for talks with ASEAN members and top officials. The first stop for Lam, a visit to the Urban Redevelopment Authority. She said she was intrigued by its planning and conservation efforts. Earlier, she attended a luncheon with the country's Deputy Prime Minister Teo Chee Hean. Speaking after a visit to Singapore's Civil Service College and Government Technology Agency in the afternoon, she said she wants to set up a training school for civil servants in Hong Kong as well.
I'm not criticizing my own civil service colleagues when I make that comment, but you will understand that in any institution which has been well established for many years and doing things in the same manner for many years, especially when we are sort of subject to some resource constraints and so on, it's not easy to think out of the box and to try new ways. So we do need some sort of disruption, if you call it that way, to stimulate my colleagues to really think in a more innovative way.
The Secretary for Justice, Rimsky-Yuan, has once again hit back at claims that the controversial co-location immigration arrangement is a breach of the Basic Law and the one country, two systems principle, saying there's no political agenda. Top officials, including Yuan and 2 other bureau chiefs, today attended a LegCo meeting to discuss the proposal. The co-location plan has drawn widespread criticism from especially the pro-democracy camp because mainland authorities will be given the right to enforce mainland laws in a quarter of the West Kowloon terminus. When asked if the public would be formally consulted on the arrangement details, the legal chief dodged the question. To the controversial Wang Chau development project in Yuen Long now. The government is set to take back 79 private lots in the area after a 3-month notice period for the affected residents to move out expired yesterday. About 400 residents from the 3 affected villages are expected to be forced out after the Land Department issued an eviction order. Some of them marched to the Yuen Long government offices today, demanding talks with government officials. They've also vowed to put up a fight if the government tries to force them out. Lawmaker and activist Eddie Chu said he will meet the Secretary for Transport and Housing, Frank Chan, to discuss the matter in hopes that the government will extend a gesture of goodwill.
CY Leung got himself into a scandal while pushing for the Wang Chau development plan. So Anthony Chung, then Secretary for Transport and Housing, seemed reluctant to handle the issue. The discussion on the matter has been procrastinated or even shelved. Now the new government seems to be more proactive in dealing with the problem here. We hope it's not merely a formality.
A fresh report from the Department of Health showed more children are spending hours on the internet every day. That's after interviewing about 1,000 minors and their parents. There is a sharp rise in the number of primary school students spending more than 3 hours a day online, up from 2.6% in 2014 to 13.1% this year. 30% of them would sacrifice sleep and outdoor activities for more time to go online. Meanwhile, babies on average have begun using smartphones as early as when they are 12 months old. The department encouraged parents to minimize their own use of electronic gadgets as well and interact more with their children. Now to Russia, and new sanctions signed into law late yesterday by Donald Trump have been described by Moscow as a trade war in a diplomatic spat complicated by legal questions about the US president. The move seemingly puts an end to the Republican president's hope for better relations with Russia. Trump grudgingly ratified the new measures, which were almost unanimously passed by Congress. but said that the deal was bad news, adding that he could make, quote, far better deals with governments. While previous executive orders signed by the president had been done in front of the cameras to much fanfare, this latest signature was done behind closed doors. The bill also brings in new sanctions on Iran and North Korea.
The president favors tough measures to punish and deter the bad behavior of the rogue regimes in Iran and North Korea, and he also sent a clear signal that we won't tolerate interference in our democratic process by Russia. The bill was improved, but Congress has encroached on the power of the presidency, and he signed it in the interest of national unity. We've been very clear that we support tough sanctions on all three of those countries. We continue to do so.
Moscow, meanwhile, has been critical of the move. Former President Dmitry Medvedev used Trump's favoured means of communication, Twitter, to admonish the sanctions, describing them as a declaration of full-fledged economic warfare. Russia's ambassador to the UN also criticised the move.
It is harming our relations inevitably, but we will be working in conditions that exist and in the hope that it will turn one day. But those who invented this bill, if they were thinking that they might change our policy, they were wrong, as history many times proved. They should have known better that we do not bend or do not break.
OK, coming up next, the latest from the world of business.
OK, let's kick off with a look at what's happening on the markets first. Hong Kong investors seemingly a little more bearish today. The Hang Seng closed down 0.28%, dropping from a 26-month high yesterday to finish at 27,531 points. Some worries about a mooted report from Donald Trump into Chinese intellectual property violations hitting shares as traders fret about the potential impact on trade between the world's two biggest economies. Well, despite the more conservative mood today on markets, China's second biggest telecom company, China Unicom, had a good day. Plans to launch a mixed ownership strategy later this month saw shares soar more than 3%. The $34 billion publicly owned telecom giant is looking for new shareholders, and Tencent and Alibaba are among the front-runners, with 2 operating centers already apparently set up to facilitate cooperation. Meanwhile, at home, Tencent has had a little more drama after its popular messaging app QQ saw 2 chatbots go rogue. The bots gave unpatriotic answers to questions about the Communist Party of China and South China Sea. The baby Q bot gave a no reply when asked if it loved the party, while Microsoft maid Xiaobing told users, "My China dream is to go to America." On Wednesday, the bots were pulled from the app, which has 800 million users. Tencent says it's now adjusting the services, which will be resumed after improvements. A big day for automakers too. German politicians and bosses of Volkswagen, BMW and Daimler have all agreed to update the engine software on the 5.3 million diesel cars already on the road. This is as European countries step up efforts to deal with diesel cars, which recent research suggests are some of the most polluting vehicles on the roads. All 3 German giants have agreed to pay for incentives to get older models off the road as well. Environmental groups, though, say the plan is too little, too late, and that it doesn't go far enough. Wonder Woman is lifting Time Warner shares even higher. The hit film boosted quarterly profit and revenue at the media and entertainment giant, as Fred Katayama reports.
You will train her.
Wonder Woman did wonders for Time Warner. It helped boost the media and entertainment giant's quarterly profit and revenue, both of which beat analyst estimates. The film has grossed about $800 million and is set for a sequel. Time Warner expanded its top line across the board. Revenue at the company's movie studio, Warner Brothers, rose more than 12%. Revenue also rose at its Turner unit, which includes cable channels like CNN and TNT, and at the unit behind the hit fantasy show Game of Thrones, HBO. Evercore ISI analyst Vijay Jayant said, with the acquisition of Time Warner Inc. by AT&T still on track to close by the end of 2017, investors are likely to remain focused on any development relating to the regulatory review of the deal. Time Warner shares rising at the market open Wednesday, adding to their 6% gain this year.
So, Joel, have you seen Wonder Woman?
I haven't, but it sounds pretty wonderful from all the reviews I've read.
It's pretty impressive. The lead actress was actually 5 months pregnant when it was filmed.
Wow.
So if you saw some of the stunts that she pulled off, it's pretty remarkable.
I'm sure I will make sure that I go and see it. All right, guys, many thanks for that. OK, time for a break, but when we come back, we'll be looking at Michelangelo's dream of an Italian quarry at Mount Altissimo finally seeing the light of day.